The NSA just called me. We have a problem in East Timor.
What kind of problem?
A big one.
Hello there.
Right.
Sorry from 17 once again. This is my Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow hard difficulty video walkthrough. We're in Komodo, the shipyard in Komodo. Oh, sorry, Komodo Shipyard, Komodo, Indonesia. For the geography lesson right there. I always found this to be a pretty interesting mission, this. I like the idea of the swaying grass, and I like how it looks through the night vision lens. There's a rifleman in the tower, but he's never given me any trouble, because you don't really seem to stay around this area long enough for him to really do anything. Of course, there's a guy swiftly moving through the field. He's there just to put some pressure on you, to make it a little bit more intimidating. There's the burning barrel to cast off some illumination so that it's not completely shadow-filled. It's a pretty standard Splinter Cell setup, but we're going to go through this building and we're going to alleviate all the pressures of that sniper. So we're coming up towards the end of the game here. We've got a couple of back-to-back jungle levels, and then we've got the finale, which I remember the finale on this game being really tricky, but when I played it and I recorded this, I didn't have too much trouble with it at all. In fact, I was kind of surprised it was the finale, because the first game had a pretty tough sequence of events for the last area of the game. Chaos Theory has a pretty easy one too, but I just always remember the ends being, you know, quite tough. So they've been getting easier, I've noticed. But I'm gonna sneak just over here. Like, it's kind of silly, isn't it, watching this? Sam is clearly visible. He's in shadow, sure, but he's visible because that's how the game looks. But it works, and it makes it really fun. And there's something to be said about, like, simple stealth. Stealth, I think, that right there is me just trying to push the whole circle peg in the square hole and somehow getting away with it. And there you go. It just goes to show, sometimes you want to use balls, because sometimes stealth is a little bit too slow, but it's entirely up to you. But look at stealth in the last 20 years. It hasn't changed that much. Does it need a massive overhaul? I don't think so. I think we need to really appreciate that the simple stealth is probably the best. You know, it doesn't have to be super complicated and convoluted. Just the notion of, this is when I'm visible, this is when I'm hidden, and here is a sequence of problems I have to solve using this as a baseline, I think is just perfect. And I think it's why I'm really appreciating these early games, because the levels are all featured around, you know, just getting past the problem rather than going through it. And I really like that. I really appreciate that. And a lot of games, especially stealth games now, because they're almost paranoid to be stealth games, they have to try and appeal to bigger audiences, and if they don't add a superfluous multiplayer that nobody wanted, they're adding things that aren't stealth. So you're getting these stealth games that come out where the main selling point is, you know, you play it how you want to play it, you do what you want to do. So if you want to go through it and kill everything you can, or you can do it without ever being seen. And I like the idea of that option, but I would also like just give me a game where if you don't stealth it, you get brutally murdered. You know, I think there's a market for the simplicity of, you cannot compete with the people in this game, so let's try and be smarter than them and find holes in their strategies to get past them. And I think that's what's so beautiful about, for instance, what's happening right now. And I think that's the romanticism of, you know, being the covert agent going in behind enemy lines. It's the idea that you're not John Rambo. You can't just pull out an M60 and start gunning people down on top of your horse and riding off with a Mujahideen or whoever the hell that was at the end of that terrible film. Like, you can't do that. And some games you can, because that's what those games are about. But in a game such as this, they want you to do what's happening right now, and I want to do that. I find that really, really fun. Like, I kind of mourn Metal Gear Solid when it had the Soliton radar, because I felt like the Soliton radar made it very powerful. It gave you so much knowledge, and it enabled you to do things that you wouldn't have been able to do based on your eyes. And Metal Gear's gradually been moving away from those features and moving more towards a more streamlined stealth experience, but I think it makes it suffer in its ways that it works. It's a bit too clean for me, and I liked the janky, kind of arcadey notion of it. And it's a lot like Splinter Cell, only I think Splinter Cell has done it better. Not in a, Splinter Cell's better than Metal Gear kind of way, because I'm not making that point, nor ever would I, because I think it's a silly argument. But I think when you play Blacklist, the stealth in Blacklist, when done correctly, can almost be as beautiful as the stealth in this. Sure, it's a hell of a lot more polished, it's a hell of a lot easier to do, but it's still that fundamental of I'm sneaking through, I'm finding these paths, and it feels really, really good. Whereas I think stealthing on say Ground Zeroes compared to stealthing on Metal Gear Solid 2 is a completely different thing. Like you don't play those games the same anymore, And I think that's one of the things that's making me less excited about Phantom Pain, and I say this with a teaspoon, of course. I'm really excited for Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan. But 4 put me off a little bit. I thought 4 was incredibly overrated. I think it's a brilliant game, but I think that the aspects of it that make it a Metal Gear were weak. And I've already voiced this opinion a few times, and there's probably a few other people like, oh my god, how could you say that? I just do. I think Metal Gear Solid 2 is probably my favourite. I think Metal Gear Solid 1 is the best, and I think Metal Gear Solid 3, objectively, is where everything kind of worked. Everything came together and coalesced. I think Metal Gear Solid 4 is probably mechanically the most sound game they've made, but I hated, Snake as a parrot, always coming off as ignorant and not knowledgeable, and I didn't think any of the bosses were good. I thought they were all nostalgia trips. Except for, of course, the fight with Ocelot and the Metal Gear fight. I just think it was lacking a lot of the things that made it great. Made the other games great, anyhow. But that's just me. And then the new games, like Ground Zeroes, was a fun experience, but they've changed the voice, which is enough to break everything for me. And they've added a bunch of really strange stuff, like that whole, you get seen and it goes slow-mo and you can shoot people, and they give you indicators on the screen now when you're being seen, and you aim your gun at somebody's head and you fire and it doesn't hit the face, and just weird shit that makes me feel like, yeah, this is not going to be as good as I would like it to be. It's going to look beautiful, it's going to bring in a completely different, group of people to the fan base, but I think the people who really appreciate and stuff like that are just not going to get that experience, because it's a completely different game now, and whose footprints are these? Knock, 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 and all that kind of stuff. It's just not there anymore. And I think that's a shame, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that prefer that. But I'm glad it's evolving. I just appreciate sometimes when a series just redefines and reiterates rather than, drastically changes things. And both of these series are guilty of those things, like getting rid of the main voice. Some people don't even see it as an issue. Like, Aiden doesn't mind, loves Keith Sutherland, loves him as Snake. He thinks it fits perfectly. I love Keith Sutherland, I would probably have his babies, but I still cannot face it at all. It's not Snake. If you're not David Hayter, you're not Snake for me. And I'm so binary when it comes to that, it's kind of stupid, really. Because to some people, they don't even care. Like, the character has a voice they didn't even realise, but to me, it's a really, really important thing. And it's the same with Ironside. I don't know. I loved the interactions. Like, I miss Lambert. He was awesome. I miss Grim. I mean, who the hell hasn't Sam ended up pissing off, killing, or getting into a situation where they're no longer part of your team? Like, Sam's team now is a bunch of people who weren't even in these earlier games. And Sam's getting younger. Like, what the fuck, dude? You look like a model for grey men. It's amazing. How old is he here? 75? Like, I can't even tell anymore. He started off, what was he, late 40s? He's the dude who's grizzled and he's been there, yet he's getting younger. This is really tough, this room. So, I let him see me a little bit so I can do what I just did then, and then I take him out. And from here on, it's going to get kind of weird. So, when we get into this sky cart thing, this monorail machine, everybody just knows you're there. I'm not too sure why. It just seems to be the way it is. even when you knock out the lights, they know you're there. It doesn't seem to matter. So I'm going to preemptively strike. And that was possibly a mistake. I'm not too sure why I used sticky shockers here. I should have probably tried to do these shots with ring airfoil rounds. Yeah, I don't know why I did that, guys. I've just wasted a bunch of sticky shockers, which is very sloppy. Sticky shockers are the most powerful tool in this game. I think, anyway. And I've just used a ton of them, including missed shots, which is just kind of disgusting. That was a good shot, though, wasn't it? Oh, I still got it, boys. I still got it. I used to be really good at aiming the F2000 secondary features. Not so much in these walkthroughs, because I don't use it. I've been consciously trying to avoid it, but as of now, we're in fluctuating levels of light. But can you hear the shooting? People already know where we are, and we're already getting shot at. Are they shooting at me? And I ignore it a little bit. I put my thermals on, which doesn't help. And then you can see, if you look, you can see the impacts of the bullets. See the sparks? So this dude's just unloading bullets at me. And at this point, I'm like, is this an alarm? Does this count? And I got really confused. But in the end, I end up just shooting a couple of people with ring airfoils and hiding. Like, that's yeah, he's there. Do you see him? That's the dude who's giving me issues. So I'm going to pop on ring airfoil rounds, which I should have airfoiled rounds the earlier guys, and then sticky shock at this guy. It just would have been quicker, but instead I waste a couple then. The good news is, for this next sequence, I'm going to be using smoke bombs to get past a pretty tricky...
That's everywhere I go.
Oh no, I think I'm jumping the gun here, guys. We're going to be going into a submarine before we do the ending part. And it's really funny too, because when you get off the submarine, you can get to the level where the boat is. There's your little dinghy, you're literally a metre away from it on a submarine, but if you go in the water, it's instant death, because Sam Fisher might be a fantastic special secret agent man, but he can't swim. And I've never got that bullshit, but that's how games work. So instead of just hopping into the water and getting on the boat, I have to go through this mandatory fight, which is a scripted shootout, and this game has a lot of them. And I'm really happy to tell you, folks, that I don't think there are any scripted mandatory shootouts on Chaos Theory. There are a couple of moments where, you know, there's people trying to kill you, and shooting them definitely helps, but there is no moment where it's like, go for it, Sam, everyone's shooting at you, now do your thing. Like, I thought the bathhouse had a mandatory one, I thought the shower room was a mandatory fight. Turns out, with a couple of well-placed smokes, nobody in that room will ever know you were there. But, once again, this is Pandora Tomorrow, so... This guy's... You see that? I would have been shot then on Chaos Theory. I think that's what I kind of miss as well when I was playing it. Because I had a ton of fun with the first game, I had a ton of fun with this, and I had a ton of fun recording Chaos Theory up until the resets. When the resets started happening, I regretted making the guide at that point, because I did like 5 resets on Battery because of bullshit, and I did about 8 resets on Bathhouse because of bullshit as well, and at that point I could have cancelled the guide and you would have never seen it. And it wasn't because I couldn't do it, it's because I was getting cheated. And anybody who's been with the channel a while, or who's just seen me do things, you know that I'm never one to immediately blame the game. Of course, in some of my live playthroughs I've blamed the game, and that just kind of happens, but I'm not the dude whose initial reaction is, I am infallible, the game is at fault, because it's not how it works. You know, it's always going to be the player for the most. But these were instances, one of them was a kill. I killed somebody on Battery, and I never killed anybody. Nobody fell in water, nobody got blown up by explosions. I tell you what happened, folks. I knocked a dude out on the lift. When I pressed the lift to move it, as the lift was moving, the guy's body stayed where it was, it started floating, went through the graphics, and I can almost guarantee you that when the lift stopped, it fell and killed him. Because the game was full of shit at that moment, and I got punished for it. And there was a ton of moments just like that, where it said I'd been alerted twice, and I could upload the fucking video for this completely unedited, guys, so you see every single restart, every single section of that full thing, and you will never once hear the music change. And when you get alerted, the music always changes. Nobody shoots me, nobody sees me, nobody does shit, but at the end, I have 2 alarms. 2 alerts! 2, not just 1, 2. And you watch it back, you never see it, yet you get punished for it, and you just... I could have quit right there, because I do not mind failing. You have to fail to learn to succeed. You have to... It's just the process of learning. But I hate being punished for something that wasn't my fault, or something that just doesn't make sense. If I had have got an alarm, I'd have restarted. I wouldn't have batted an eyelid. I'd have been like, oh yeah, fuck it, you know, happens. Boom. If I'd have killed somebody, mistakes happen. I could have gone with it. As long as I'd have known it was me. But when it's not you, at that point, what do you do? And it's incredibly frustrating, because the Splinter Cell levels, as much as I really enjoy doing them, they're not short. Like a quick run through of a level when you know what you're doing and everything goes well is still a 20-minute thing, sometimes longer. Like, unless you're speedrunning it where you're running past dudes and you're somehow not getting killed, which I have no idea how you would do. Like, even then, you're looking at probably a 10-minute mission, and 10 minutes doesn't sound like a lot until you have to do it 10 times, and then it becomes a lot. Ooh, something worth noting here as well. If you ever see somebody with a beret on, it apparently means they're important. So, there you go. And I think that might actually have something to do with the ranking, the military rankings. I think, is it only officers or only captains or something higher than that gets to have the beret? Showing my military knowledge here when it comes to ranks. The limits of my army rankings comes from Call of Duty level up systems in Call of Duty 4, and I can't really remember them. There you go. I thought this was beautiful. So I grab this guy, I move into the corner, these 2 people are having a conversation and they don't notice it because I'm too baller, and then we take him out, and then we're in this room. I think the night vision looked the best in this game, because night vision for me, hit and miss. There are some games that do night vision really well, there are some games that do night vision really functionally, and there are some games that do it almost stylistically bad. When you put your night vision goggles on and you can see less than you could see before, I don't think they're working the way they're meant to work. That's just me. But on this game, it looks great. But certain games, it's either too blown out or sometimes it's really hard to see stuff. I really like how this game did it. It also lets us look at the hair of Sam. We can appraise his fantastic hair.
What's my part?
But Lambert's dropping some exposition on us here, so we're just going to wait through it before we move on. I just noticed as well, I have 39 bullets in my 5.7, which is a lot of rounds. I was looking on some Chaos Theory videos when I was having trouble on some of those missions, just to see, you know, if I was doing something wrong or if anybody else was doing something different to get the 100%. And when I watched them, they did the exact same thing as me, and they got 100% and I didn't, which was really annoying. And there was a dude in the comment section. For one of them, I think he got 97% instead of 100, and he couldn't understand why either, and I'm completely with you there, brother. I watched that video and you did nothing wrong in my eyes, and he still got punished for it, as I was at the time. And there's some dude in the comments who's like, oh, you knocked out a civilian, you idiot. That's minus 3 points. It's not minus 3 points at all. Killing civilians in that game definitely will deduct from your score and maybe fail, but knocking them out does nothing. There is a video on YouTube of a guy getting 100% and he knocks 3 civs out, so whoever that idiot is who said that is just a retard and needs to stop spreading bullshit misinformation because he doesn't know what he's on about. But he didn't just say, you know, oh, you knocked a civilian out, that's your problem. He was like, oh, you dumb arsehole, wank bank. Like, he immediately just insults the guy, which, that's the internet all over right there. This is the mandatory firefight, by the way, folks. So I'm running down here to trigger it, and then I'm going to show you a really nice way of getting around it. So there was the trip. Then I'm going to come all the way back up to here, and I'm going to take people out from this vantage point. And I have gas grenades in my secondary feature, so I'm just going to gas them because they're in pairs of 2. The shots here are kind of awkward because you can't control the bounce of the grenades. And if you go too far out, they will see you and they will shoot you. It's happened to me a few times. But people on the internet are so, like... Another guy said, this is not on Expert, because on Expert you start with no bullets in your primary weapons. No, that's not true either, dude. The only game that started doing that was Double Agent, and Double Agent came a few years after Chaos Theory, so your theory is wrong. You are a grotesquely ugly freak. Like, come on, dude, what the fuck is that? I'm all for people pointing out something that is a mistake if it's for the greater good and it helps the video, but when you're just spreading bullshit information, you know, those are the type of people that I would have lined up and shot. I would be like that scene in Schindler's List, where he's just like, yes, and who are you? I work for Oscar Schindler. Bang! Like, there you go. See you later, son. But jokes aside, I hate those kind of comments. I just truly do. It helps nothing, and all it does is spread confusion. And there's people who are struggling on these levels, and they're reading these comments, and they're going back and they're trying these things that these idiots are saying. And it's just... If you don't know it for sure, back it up and go and check it out and research it to make sure what you're saying is right. Don't just peddle fucking, you know, crocodile tears or snake oil. It's just so stupid. But that's the end of Komodo, guys. We did not see a Komodo dragon. I am extremely sad. But thank you for watching. You take care now.